All right, well, let's go to the last topic of the panel. It'll be a fairly quick one, but we're going to get you guys, both of you, well, all of us, to rate the transfer window so far. And then after we do rate it, we can give our input in what we want it to be an acceptable window, or what should happen to be an acceptable window. We'll start with you, Mitch.
Right, I'm gonna go off the premise that we haven't signed Van de Ven yet, because we haven't, and we haven't spent the money yet. So, I mean, Maddison, Solomon, Vicario. The Maddison one is what I guess gives it a bit of a higher rating than what I would give it otherwise. You know, Solomon on a free and Vicario on a relatively cheap deal. I'm probably giving it at the moment a 4 out of 10 personally, just because for me it can't be a good transfer window until we've addressed the centre back issue, because that's the biggest area of concern for us. I love Maddison. I cannot wait to watch him for us every single week. And we've needed to replace Eriksen for years now, and I'm glad we've done that. That's why it's probably not at a 2, because Solomon and Vicario is sort of a bit like. But yeah, 4. If I think to bolster it, if we were to just sign Phillips and Van de Ven, you're probably looking at maybe like a 6 out of 10, because at least we've got a centre back in. If you were to sign Van de Ven and Tapsoba, I think you've got to be looking maybe closer towards a 7 or 8. But that's not to say that there aren't other positions that still need strengthening. Again, a lot of it depends on whether Harry Kane goes. If he goes, he would need replacing. So you'd have to judge that as well. And again, Højbjerg, if he goes, which it looks like he's going to, do you bring someone in? Are people happy to let the likes of Sarr replace him? So again, there's a lot of variables with it. At the moment, it's a 4, but I could see it potentially getting up to a 7, maybe an 8 if we bring in more than one decent centre-back.
Sava, what's your rating, and what needs to happen for you to be happy this transfer window?
Do you know what? I never do it by the numbers. I do it by words. This window's been shambolic. Let's call it for what it is. If it was going to be a number, it would be a 1. And the reason for that is it's not just about incomings. It's outgoings as well. We've got a squad of about 35 to 37 pros, if you chuck in somebody under 23s into that, and nothing's been addressed. Nothing has been addressed, right? Like, okay, you've replaced Lloris with, who's still there, by the way, with Vicario. Maddison's a brilliant signing, but let's be fair. And I love Maddison. I've wanted him since he was at Coventry. We've waited until he's got 1 year left on his contract and got relegated. And we've bought a winger on a free, who's a good player, but it's on a free. Like, I don't know what I'm meant to be doing with that information. No one's gone. No one's left the club. It's still the same deadwood rotting in the club, rotting in the dressing room. So for me, have we addressed? I think we've got poor fullbacks we've not addressed. I think we've got poor centre-backs we've not addressed. I don't think the club's got a recognised number 6. That's not been addressed. What's going on with Harry Kane? The pre-season's been poor. No players have left other than Harry Winks. I think it's been absolutely shambolic. However, there is a green shoot in there that if we were to spend the Kane money in the next week and those 3 or 4 new players come in, things start to look a lot better. But at the moment, 9, 10 days to go until Brentford, you'd have to say it's been another Daniel Levy special. It's been another transfer window where we have not actually done anything to show that we are ambitious, to show that we are a club that want to move forward. However, 10 days, he's got to go and change it. And when people in the chat, by the way, are saying to me, those issues will be addressed. Rome wasn't built in a day. We've had those issues for 5 years, by the way. This isn't a one summer thing that we've needed a defence or a defensive midfielder or a playmaker. This is 5 years. So it's all well and good saying Rome wasn't built in a day. It's not been a day. Every other club's going out and addressing. So it's been bad, but still time is the saving grace.
Everyone says Rome wasn't built in a day, but how long did it actually take to build Rome? Because
exactly. Exactly. I love it. I love it when people say stuff like that to me, guys. You know I do it. I find it hilarious. Like, this guy's negative. Oh God, am I? I mean, what are you seeing at the club that you go, yeah, that's brilliant, you know?
How
So
dare you want a new centre-back, Sava?
yeah, stop wanting better for your football club, you negative guy. Yeah.
Sim, what are you feeling?
I'm more like Sava. Honestly, I'm looking more like a 2 out of 10 right now. I mean,
Yeah.
I've honestly, at the start of the window, I was really happy with how things started with Vicario, Solomon. Well, I would say happy, but I was really happy with Madison because I was a big surprise that we actually got him. Vicario, I was willing to go along with because I could see the logic going with the cheaper option on that occasion, as much as I wanted to refer Rare. With Solomon, I'm just more hopeful rather than expecting that he's actually going to be good for us. I wasn't that impressed with him at Fulham, to be honest. I thought he scored a few good goals, but his general play didn't excite me that much. But I'm hopeful he can maybe show a better side of himself at Tottenham. Free transfer makes sense, but no centre backs. The squad is still fairly unbalanced. I'm still not even that sure about our attacking options right now, especially if Kane leaves. And if Kane stays, I think we'll be okay. But if Kane leaves and we don't assign a replacement forward, I'm not that convinced about our attacking options, to be honest, over the course of the season. Defensively, centre backs is a big problem. Fullbacks, I'm willing to go ahead with what we've got, but long term we'll have to wait and see. But I'm willing to go ahead with Emerson, Porro, Udogie, and maybe Davis as backup left back. I think that should be okay. Midfield, we've got so many midfielders. We've got like 9 midfielders right now on the books for challenging for 3 positions. So that's going to have to be trimmed massively before the end of the season. And you got to remember, we've got such a big squad, and it can't have a good effect on trying to create a family feel and a tight-knit team when you've just got so many players. I think it's a similar issue that Chelsea suffered last season, just having so many first-team players trying to fit into the squad. When you only have on a match day, you have 22 spaces, or no, what is it? No, not in 22. You have 18 spaces, and then you a lot of these players getting left out. So I think right now it's like a 2 out of 10. I'm very frustrated with how things are going. I still think there's potential if we sign a couple of centre backs and we really sort out the outgoings to get it into a good score, 7 or 8. But right now, when the season's a week away, it's madness how much we've got to do. Absolute madness. So 2 out of 10.
I think it's an absolute disgrace that we're sitting here just over a week to go until the season's starting, and we're still hoping for these centre backs, still trying to negotiate these deals for these centre backs to come in. I think it's an absolute shambles. It's an absolute disgrace. Last summer, before we went into the window last summer, they told us this position was a priority, an absolute priority. We get on Clement Longley on loan, and then they go to us, all right, we've got Clement Longley on loan. Now next season is the season that we're really going to get those centre-backs in. And now we're sitting here just a week to go before the start of the season. We still don't have them in. And in fact, it's not that we just don't have them in. We're actually long laid down. So we've actually got one less centre-back than we had last season going into it. So I think it's an absolute disgrace. And
I'm glad you said it, because when I say it, I get absolutely, I get pelters for saying this. I'm glad you two have actually said it as well. It beggars belief, doesn't it?
It's a joke.
Belief.
It's an absolute.
The defenders weren't the first thing through the door. First thing through the door, on tour with the club, linking up with Vicario. That should have been the little diamond that you're working on. But
absolutely.
Hey,
who brings in Antonio Conte and does not build from the back? Who brings in Jose Mourinho and does not build from the back? And now we've got a really attacking manager where if we don't have good defenders, we are going to get torn apart week in, week out without good defenders in this system. I mean, I just don't understand it, to be honest. And with the players that we've brought in, the only one who I'm delighted with is Madison. Vicario is an unknown quantity to me. Solomon, I'm happy with, but I wouldn't say I'm delighted with. And for me, to have a good window, we need to bring in 2 top centre backs, an attacker to replace Kane. Doesn't matter for me if it's a winger or a striker, one of the two, and potentially a midfielder as well, maybe once we get a few out the door. And obviously, we've got so many players to get out the door before the end of the window, Ndombele included. So if we can get all that done, I mean, the outgoings, I don't mind if that rumbles on until the last few days of the window, but the incomings need to get done sooner rather than later, in my opinion. So I think the window's been a bit of a shambles so far, that's for sure.